So here we are, 8 weeks into the quarantine. 8 weeks. I did not realize how much I missed sports until now, or even just sport. It doesn't matter what it would be, whether it be football, basketball, college basketball, baseball, college baseball, going to the Travs game, man, curling. I mean, that's an Olympic thing, but I can even watch some curling. Tennis, I could watch tennis, or man, I could even watch Stanley Cup hockey. Not all those games leading up, but just the Stanley Cup. You know, I love going to the park. I love hearing the sounds and smelling the smells, all the aromas. I mentioned it, going to the Travelers game and hearing Lance, bacon, 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 bacon. Who wants bacon? You know, all of that. And I miss it so much. I haven't, but I guess I don't miss it so much because I haven't even tuned into Sports Center since all of this COVID happened. Now I have watched the Dream season, the Michael Jordan or the Chicago Bulls show. I've watched that, but I won't watch replayed games. I need the thrill of the competition. Those old games, I know who won, I know who lost most of the time, or I can just Google it real quick. You see, I didn't even really pay attention to the NFL draft. I can't tell you where any players have went. And so, but when I really think about sports, I think above everything I love about sports, it's the thrill of the power and the victory that you see when those sports are played, especially by talented and very gifted people. Especially watching the Dream season documentary, getting to see Michael Jordan and his team and their opponents live out these incredible feats that they did on the basketball court. The power and the victory that they fought with and lived with. Especially for me, especially when the underdog rises up, unless that underdog is against my team and then I want to squish them like a little ant. But as a Razorback fan, that is not always the case. Anyway, I recently wrote a phrase down, and I can't remember if I thought it in my head, if I read it in a book, or if I heard it on an online sermon. But this is what I wrote down that I have on my paper. It says, "In the message of the gospel, there is power. In the reception, there is victory." And so that kind of, I think of sports a lot of times. I think Paul did as well. You can read so much of what the 13 letters that Paul wrote, and you can see that this guy was a sports fan. That was in their society. It's in our society. So I think it's an important thing for us to use in communicating the message of the gospel and how we can strive to be better as we follow Christ with our lives. So in like sports, especially football, the quarterback welds a whole lot of power when they're on the field, right? On his own, the quarterback, there's not going to be victory. Very rarely will ever be victory, but you'll just have the demonstration that, hey, we got a great quarterback. I mean, we've seen that in NFL year after year. They draft these prime quarterbacks, but they don't have a team to support this quarterback, and so he gets crushed, or he gets hurt, or he's out of the season. Similar in the gospel message, I like relating this idea to the gospel, is that it's the gospel message is powerful and it's meaningful and it's challenging and whatever other metaphor that you really want to attach to it. But until that message of the gospel is received, it's just a message. It's just maybe some stories, or it's just this idea, or there's a lot of potential there maybe. For there to be victory in a life, or for us to see life change, the message must be received. And it doesn't matter if you do one of these one-arm catches over the head like Odell, or if it's a receive into a handoff and he just plows his way. For victory to happen, that message must be received. Reminds me of a couple passages in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Paul's writing to the Corinthians church, and there's some bickering, I think, going on. But this is what he said. He said, and this is from the New Living Translation. He said, "I planted the seed in your hearts, and Apollos watered it, but it was God who made it grow. It's not important who does the planting or who does the watering. What's important is that God makes the seed grow. The one who plants and the one who waters work together with the same purpose. And in Romans, Paul writes again, he says, "For I'm not ashamed of this good news about Christ. It's the power of God at work, saving everyone who believes." First the Jews and then the Gentiles. And then in 1 Thessalonians, Paul's writing again, and he says, "Therefore we never stop thanking God that when you received his message from us, you didn't think of our words as mere human ideas. You accepted it as the very word of God, which of course it is. And this word continues to work in you who believe." And so that's important for me when I think of all of those three verses together. And this idea is that the message, there's so much power in here, but until there's a recipient of the message, it's just a message. And so often what happens is we as believers, we hold on to this message and we don't verbalize it. We don't look for receivers. So if you're a Christian, this illustration is in no way foolproof, but you are like a quarterback with the ball. I'm like a quarterback with the ball, getting to live out my dreams, in the big game or whatever it might be. But no, I'm like the quarterback with the ball. I have the message, and I know how powerful my message is, but who am I going to give the ball to? Who am I going to deliver to? You see, in life, I've thrown a ton of incomplete passes using this metaphor. And in fact, because I'm a mere human and I've done a lot of dumb things in my life, I've probably even been sacked holding on to this message, just trying to protect it. But see, the thing is that our job is to see victory. And the only way we get to see victory in the Christian life is by proclaiming his message and finding people to receive it. So I want to my challenge to myself is to not do anything that's going to allow me to get taken out of the game, to keep looking for receivers, those who are open, their hearts being open, that their hearts are open to receive the gospel, to hear it and to receive it. And then when I identify that person that's ready to receive it, I've got to be ready to deliver it. Like your favorite quarterback, Peyton Manning, Dak, I don't know. I'm not even going to go down that road. Joe Burrows, whatever it might be, that you're ready to deliver that with precision. And just as a quarterback doesn't just walk onto the field having not studied, we have to do the same, guys. We've got to be trained and equipped in our mind. We have to stay in the game. We have to keep training our minds, and by reading the Bible and perhaps memorizing verses and being ready to open our mouths to communicate the word. We always have to be looking for that open receiver. There's a quote that's been attributed to St. Augustine of St. Francis of Assisi. It says, "Preach the gospel always, and if necessary, use words." I don't know if he said it, but I think the phrase is bunk, because there's no way to preach the gospel without actually preaching the gospel. We can live, there's a whole bunch of nice people in our world, but we have to be the nice people with the message that holds power, looking for those who are ready to receive it. So your encouragement today, will you take it with me, is in the message of the gospel, there's a power. In the reception, there's victory and change. Will you join with me in looking for those who are ready to receive the gospel?